but I'm the only one here. I'm so confused. Okay, Audrey joined. Okay. Okay, well, yeah, like, yes, I'm logging in. I think there was some confusion as who was logging into the account. Because I'd been sitting there and like just wait. Okay. So Aaron, are you there too? Okay, perfect. Because mine was just sort of spinning. I'm like, oh, was I supposed to log in? So okay, so maybe so it doesn't get confusing, I am going to log out real quick and log back in, but I'll log in as myself. So I'll be right back. Oh, wait, I wonder if I can. Forget that. I'm not, because I don't want to screw anything up because I'm logged in as NMA right now. So I'm just going to stay.
Then we'll all be lost.
Okay, I'm getting a really bad echo. Is anybody else getting an echo? Okay.
Yes. I wonder if is that, are you logged in as NMA also, Aaron?
Yeah, I can try logging out and coming back in.
Or I can, either one.
Okay, let's see if that works. See if okay, let's see if that works. This must be Kelly coming back in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but it still says Nebraska Museums Association. Okay, I'm going to leave again.
Well, no, but we're not echoing, so I wouldn't worry about it.
And we are recording. Okay.
And I did record it. Yeah, I hit record.
Okay.
So, not that we've said massively important things.
We didn't talk about you, so.
We didn't talk about you, so. So I think this is just going to be a really informal one. I don't know what all we really want to discuss, or
Right.
if anybody has. I was kind of hoping that maybe Karen or somebody else might give us an idea of maybe if, like the survey results, you know, if we've gotten anything back related onto that. So I have my list of things, but it's more of a board type of thing rather than just strictly just the conference in general. I think it went very well. Everything that I heard was very positive. So I don't know, Audrey, do you have anything that?
I think, do we know, I have no idea what the financial situation is. I don't know how many actually registered, et cetera. I think that we maybe backed into that. We think we had approaching 50 actually there at one time or another, not everyone, all 50 there at the same time, people kind of coming and going. I guess I was just thrilled that there were that many, because at one point our attendance was weak. And I think that toward the end, at the very end, I think that Karen was concerned because her reservation setup didn't quite work, because we had 14 people that showed up that we didn't know about. But luckily, Kelly, being calm, cool, and collected, handled it all. And so everyone was there. But I think that Karen was concerned, upset, basically, you know, that could have been a thing. But regardless, I had thought that we'd have about 50 because this is our first time back in person after 3 years, and people are kind of out of the habit, even though everyone says, oh, it's so much fun to be together. But then COVID was still kind of hanging out there, and were people able to budget, you know, that sort of thing. So I was pleased about that. I thought the facility was certainly large. And so that worked out well. I actually thought that Micah was an exemplary host. You know, he had coffee and treats in the morning, and, you know, water and this and that and the other thing. So I think now it's just a matter to see how we did on a financial basis. And we don't have any of those numbers yet. We have received reimbursement, asking for reimbursement from both of the outside of Nebraska speakers. And I have forwarded those on to, well, Trish got one and she forwarded on to Tammy, and I forwarded on the other one just yesterday, I think. So we have that. Micah was going to assemble all of the expenses through the museum in Holdridge, the Monday night dinner and the Tuesday lunch, and probably any other little incidentals. And so he hasn't sent me that, but he said it would be a while.
Well, I talked to Tammy yesterday, sometime this week. I don't know if it was yesterday or the day before. And she's gotten his expense report.
Really?
So yeah, and I think we're gonna have spent a bit more on this conference than we did our last in-person one.
Okay.
So just based on the estimates that she gave me. So
Okay.
just be prepared for that.
More, yeah. Then I will get in touch with her to see if she will please send that to me, because we also need to send that on to the foundation, who were going to sponsor our luncheon. So we need to let them know that. So I was kind of waiting on that. So, okay, well, good. So, and then somebody would pay it, possibly she has the revenue stream too. So anyhow, this isn't germane to the actual content of the conference, but important nonetheless. So enough of that.
Yeah, and I will say, Audrey, that yeah, we ended up with about 50 people total. Apparently there was a problem with the registration system. And so a lot of people who had registered, we didn't see. Like, you could see that they had paid, but they didn't show up in the registration thing. So Karen already knows we're going to go with a different registration system, you know, next year. So yeah, and I had brought some extra name tags, but not enough for 14 extra people. Thankfully, they had some extra like lanyard sort of thing, you know, like a name badge holder things at the museum. And so we were able to borrow some of those, which was good. And you can just stick, you know, just a sheet of paper, a little piece of paper in them. So they weren't necessarily the official, you know, like a little bit thicker cardstock name tags, but when they're in a holder, it didn't really matter. So yeah, I think attendance wise, it was probably where we were hoping to be. And some of the people who attended were just there to present their session, and they weren't necessarily able to stay for the whole thing, but probably, you know, it ended up being what we were hoping for.
Good.
So yeah, just to give you, you know, Sherry for, you know, hosting next year, to give, you know, her an idea that hopefully we won't have the registration problems next year that we did this year. And I think Karen said we're just going to do a Google form, and that'll be easy. And, you know, so.
That was one of the questions I was going to ask is, in general, what is the average number of people attending, so that we can figure things out.
Right. Yeah. And I think Lincoln's conference had a lot of people, but that was in Lincoln, and there's other stuff going on. So that was, but you know, 50, or, you know, it's great if we can get even, you know, more people than 50, but right, Aaron and Audrey, I mean, and Lynn, I mean, you've been, you know, doing these for quite some time. That seems to be typical.
All righty. Bye.
I think that, you know, the 50 to 70 is probably our average over X number of years, other than that Lincoln one, which also was the Nebraska's sesquicentennial year.
Right.
I'm so impressed I can even remember how to pronounce that word.
Thank you for the information.
Yeah, and I guess, I don't know, because yeah, this was going to be a more informal monthly museum musings than some of the other ones. Does anybody want to talk about anything? what they liked about the conference, format, stuff that maybe isn't in the conference evaluation. 'Cause we've been
Don't
sort
all
of,
speak at once.
I was gonna say, because we've kind of held it the last, I don't know how many number of years now. I think since we restarted the conference. What was that, back in like 2014-ish or so? I don't know if we've been doing this a number of years, that Monday morning will be some sort of workshop. The afternoon has been tours of some sort, and then the content with concurrent sessions on Tuesday, and then the annual meeting as part of lunch on Tuesday. And where the keynote, because we always have a keynote, where that has sort of moved a bit on Tuesday. Like this year was right away Tuesday morning. We've also had it, like lunchtime on Tuesday, but do people like that format?
I'll just throw in, since no one else is saying anything. I felt badly because, of course, the year before virtual, so we could all attend every session if we wanted to. There were not concurrent sessions. And I was actually wondering, I think there are times when the concurrent session is right, but you've constantly got to make choices. You can't, you have to one or the other for 4 different time slots. I was also thinking that maybe the afternoon of Monday, we could possibly slip in another session and maybe shorten that a little bit. We certainly saw the countryside this way. But I also remember in Alliance, it was great because we carpooled to all the various sites and saw some wonderful things. So I don't know.
Right. Yep. Sherry, I don't mean to, like put you on the spot here or anything, but do you have any ideas for tours? And so this year we did a whole like Phelps County tour. It certainly does not need to be, an entire, county tour for you. Like we could, it doesn't have to be all of Platte County or something. We could stay, in Columbus if, that's more appropriate or something, and, just do a more in-depth tour of one site instead of doing just a little bit at a bunch of different sites. So.
Well, we are not we alone, but the Rotary and several other groups, and we are involved in creating a walking tour, which should be ready to go by then, which might be of the historic downtown and talking about the buildings and various things like that. So I think that could be included. And, we would encourage people to visit the Higgins Memorial, which happens to be right across the highway from Vermont, where things are going to be happening. So just trying to come up with a few ideas. I don't see a massive county bus tour, no.
I think that was a first for us.
Yes.
Or at least a first in recent years.
Well, I enjoyed going to Funk because my best friend in high school, her mother was from Funk, and I saw the building that had her mother's father's name on it. So that was kind of fun.
That was special.
And plus I could say I've been to Funk, Nebraska,
Well, we've also in the past had, and I don't know who actually organized it though, like a helping hands workshop. I know we did that in North Platte, and I think we did it in Lincoln too, but I can't remember where else we did it. But again, I don't know who organized it, and
I had brought the idea up because that's one thing that happens at the MPMA conference. So there's what is it, like Saturday, like a half day in the morning. Collections people, registrars, that sort of thing, go to a place, and it's organized ahead of time. And so you go to a place that needs help with their collections, and whatever the help is, it might be cataloging something, it might be rehousing something, whatever it is. And we have tried that in NMA a little bit, and I think we did that. It was either the same time as the workshop or the same time as the tour. I think
it was the same time as the tour.
Okay, that could be.
Because I think the workshop was more we tried to be very generalized. I hate to use that term, but it was more of an open thing because not everybody was going to be there. You know, a lot of people were traveling to get there on the morning, and then in the afternoon, people were given the option of either going on the tour or doing the helping hands. So I don't know if there's any project that you guys have there at Sherry for that you potentially need a lot of hands that have been trained that can help you. It would kind of just be determined by if you have a project and if there's enough people who were willing to help, plus if there's somebody who's willing to sort of oversee the
Nothing comes to mind right offhand, but
Again, we're putting you on the spot, so
there we
it's
go.
okay. You don't
Well,
have to
and
look at
our board president is also on here. Wave, Teresa. There you go. Maybe she's got some ideas.
I have to think about it too.
Yeah, you're right. I had forgotten about that, Aaron, but that's something we have done in past conferences, not all of them, but some of them. So I think that really just depends on who's hosting and if, there's a museum that, wants to kind of spearhead a project like that, because we would need a lot of help from that museum too. You know, if it's, you hosting, or if there's another, group or something that has collections, that, we could go there, that, if the library or something has, 3-dimensional collections that they, need help with, or 2-dimensional. I mean, it's typically been not necessarily archives so much, but
but archives related, because I think when they were in Lincoln, I think Karen had them doing something with a negative collection. I think it was
That
like
could be
glass
something like
negatives
that.
and
Yeah.
something like that. And
Yeah.
I think I remember only like 2 negatives broke or something like that. So out of the hundreds that they were working with, but it was a way to get a whole bunch, a big project at least started and worked on. So
Getting back to the half-day workshop, I was surprised. I had at least 3 people ask me how we found the other Aaron, presenter Aaron, as opposed to President Aaron. And I think they were very, impressed. And several people said that it wasn't something that they normally thought that would be applicable to them until they were there. And then they thought, oh my gosh, I could use this for blah, 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 or whatever. So it was more applicable to every field, every specialty in a way than not. And so that was a relief for me, because sometimes, they're thinking, oh, it's just educators, but in essence, everyone in the profession should be an educator of some sort or another.
Yeah, and I know that's one thing we have tried to do with the workshops is have a slightly different focus every year. So it's not always like education or always, collections, that sort of thing. So I think this was a nice way to kind of meld everything together.
And she did a very good job, I thought, because although I wasn't there for the first part, because Kelly and I were talking to Warner, a very dedicated volunteer at that museum who chatted with us for quite some time. But at any rate, she had more there than she was planning on. So she kind of pivoted very quickly. And
she wasn't expecting that many.
No, that's what I'm saying, because that's what we thought we at one point we had like 17. So I sort of thought 25. Well, we actually had a lot more than that, not a lot more, but some more than that. So I thought that was impressive of her to be able to kind of read how many were there, who was there, and keep it lively. Since I wasn't able to, because we had concurrent sessions, since I wasn't able to be at all the sessions the way I was when we did it virtually, I really can only talk to some of the sessions, but from what I could tell, I thought everyone was prepared, even people I didn't think would be terribly prepared. It appeared to the ones whom I was there for, everyone took it seriously. All the presenters took it seriously. Everyone was highly prepared. And so I personally appreciated that. They just didn't think, oh, well, I'm just going to wing it. It was particularly the panel that I was surprised about. That first panel right after the keynote.
Yeah, so that was, I wasn't able to be at that one because I had to moderate, whatever the word is, the a session, the other one, that time slot. So I wasn't able to hear any of that. So I'm glad to hear that that went well.
Uh-huh. And what was amazing to me was it piggybacked, segued very well with what Bob Workman had said the previous hour plus. So we couldn't have planned it any better if we had tried. And then at the end, Bob really challenged those three who were representing Community Foundation, Economic Development, and Visitor Bureau people. And so it would, it wound up being a bit more all-inclusive, I thought, than drone on and on and on. So, but I was impressed that all three of those had really prepared, and that was good. And we lost Sherry.
Oh, yes, sure. Yeah.
Yes.
But she was the one that was echoing so badly.
Yeah.
Well, I think Sherry and Teresa are in the same room, and so
Oh,
I
okay.
think that's what I'm hearing there.
Oh, okay. So that's what that would be then. Yes. Right.
Go over, Teresa.
And I see that Donna Trumpke is on the call. Does she have any comments? And Lynn?
Yeah, and people can feel free to type stuff in chat too if they don't want to actually speak or anything. Aren't able to do that.
Yeah, I'm Donna Trumpke, and I represent a very small all-volunteer museum. I think that can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Yep.
Okay. When I first signed up, I was really excited about the sessions, and after the first couple, I was a little concerned that I really wasn't getting a whole lot out of the sessions because it would seem to be more geared towards the large museums with paid staff. We are not. We are all volunteer. We do have a sizable facility. We have 6 buildings at the museum grounds, so we have a lot of artifacts to display and to try and entice our visitors to return. Our funding usually is, we have some local fundraising events. We do get some support from the county. We're always struggling for more funds. What else can I tell you?
Well, the struggle for more funds is universal.
Yes.
Regardless of the size, but I certainly appreciate your comments. I will say that as I was listening to some of our guest speakers, that thought did cross my mind that they are assuming that people are, even though I had alerted some of the speakers that we brought in, that is the non-Nebraska based ones, that there would be some museums there that had either all volunteer staff or just maybe 1 or 2 paid staff. And but nonetheless, their own personal experience was much larger, and we all tend to fall back to where we're familiar. So I do take your point. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah,
And where are you, Donna? Where are you? Where are
Sherman
you?
County.
Sherman
Sherman County. Yeah. I should go ahead and add that when I went back and looked at my notes, I was a little surprised to find that I did pick up pointers probably from every one of the presenters. you know, that would apply to our museum. And I also picked up some affirmations that what we are doing is right. You know, we are engaging our visitors. We know why the visitors are there, probably early on. We do interact with them. It's just that we probably have maybe 10 active people. So
Well, it's really remarkable that you're doing that as volunteers and obviously just working as a coordinated team. And so I think we would all applaud you a whole lot. So I'm glad to know that you were able to glean some things from the various sessions.
and that I did.
What do you think might help you more in the future? What kind of sessions would help you? What would just having a round table, or would something where you would just have a few experts available in a room and that you could go and just kind of meet one-on-one with maybe somebody? We have so many wonderful professionals here in Nebraska, and I'm sure anyone would be happy to try and answer your questions specifically. And I would think those who are maybe in very small museums where maybe they're the only staff person would be able to be more relevant directly to your situation, Donna. Would that help, do you think?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Okay.
I had attended personally the conference in Nebraska City, and I think that's the only other one that I attended. Then it became virtual.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Okay, well, that gives us an idea that we might be able to sort of set up one time slot where a few experts with from various disciplines or whatever could just be there, and anyone could kind of just meet with them one-on-one.
sounds great.
Okay, thank you. See, we value you. I need someone to come up with a catchy title for that. Ask an expert. Lynn, you're good at that kind of stuff, aren't you? Ask an expert.
Don't
Yeah,
wanna-
but don't use the word expert, Audrey, no.
well, but and I don't want to make it sound like people are in trouble, but it's something like urgent care,
Yeah.
you know, where you go in and the people who are there don't know if you're going to come in with a broken foot or strep throat, you know, but
Mhm.
they try to do some triage and get you to the right person. I mean, it's urgent care is not the correct title, but you know, sort of the doctor is in, or you know,
I
how
think
you can
that's
get
good.
how you can get your free advice
The
for whatever
doctor's
your
in,
problem
isn't
is.
that
A clinic, I guess. I guess I'm trying to think of some sort of like clinic-like thing, which
Right.
maybe implies that you can sort of wander around and talk to different people. I don't know.
The doctor's in, wasn't that Lucy in the Peanut Strip?
And peanuts, yeah, right, yeah, right.
We have a graphic right away. Oh, there'd be copyright issues. Darn.
Yeah.
Well, again, thank you, Donna, for sharing that. Anybody else?
I'm sorry that I was absent a little bit earlier, but I did want to say how much I appreciated the workshop presentation, and I didn't really know quite what to expect, and don't know how other people felt about it. But even though I'm no longer day to day in the field, I found just a whole lot of information that was really intriguing. And I appreciated the presenters' enthusiasm and the interactive nature of the whole thing. And so, Audrey, kudos to you, because finding somebody, especially from way back east, to come do this must have been quite the challenge, and I thought it was great.
Actually, it wasn't. I think that she emailed Kelly first, and then she went to Aaron because
Oh,
Kelly
okay.
let her know that she was no longer the president that Aaron was. And then Aaron shared it with me, and then
Oh,
all I did was follow up.
well, good on all of you.
But I thought that was, and I just wish that more people would be like Donna, maybe, that even though she's not thinking it's terribly relevant, she's at least attending. And then,
Right.
and then people are saying, well, just trust us, it's probably going to be, it's going to be good.
Right.
And it's going to be relevant, even if you don't think it will be relevant to your
Right.
particular situation. But when you get with experts, you always learn something, or at least I do.
Yeah.
It's remarkably quiet. I still haven't gotten a sense of how do you all feel about concurrent sessions, non-concurrent sessions? Is the balance about right? Is it too much? Could there be?
I think we need to kind of have both. I think we need to have two options. I know that that means we can't go to both, but the options, allow us to, I wouldn't use the cater, but allow us to appeal to more people, because if there's a session that I don't particularly think, kind of in the vein of what Donna was saying, if I don't think it's going to appeal to me, I can go to the other one. But if that's the only option, I might not get as much out of it as someone else did. So if there's at least at least a couple of options, I think, I think that will help us overall to attract more people to come. So,
Okay. Yep.
at least that's
I kind of have that feeling too.
Is the number and the length about right? We actually had 8 concurrent sessions, so that was 4 time slots, plus a keynote, plus lunch and a meeting. That's all on Tuesday. So Tuesday's a very full day. Is that about right? Too much? Not enough? I don't know.
I felt like the time allowed was adequate. And I felt like the concurrent sessions worked out well for my interest.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, because I guess one possibility, I'm not saying this is a good possibility, it's just a possibility, is to have fewer concurrent sessions, but then spill over into Wednesday. But that means that people are spending another night in a hotel, so they have those additional expenses for their museum or personal, finances, which isn't necessarily the cheapest thing. So I don't know if that, make the day a little bit shorter on Tuesday maybe, or have fewer concurrent sessions, but because then you just spill over into, Wednesday. I don't know if people would like something like that better.
Did you think having all of that on Tuesday was too much? No, okay. I'm just asking, so we have a sense for the next one in Columbus. I personally thought it seemed full. People didn't seem bedraggled too much, and options. And it kind of moved around, but also I purposely scheduled 15 minutes between the supposed end of one session and the beginning of another. So leaving time for people to network and, run to the car or to the restroom or whatever. So I'm just asking, did that feel about right?
I guess one suggestion that I would have would be, if we're going to do some sort of like round table type thing like we did at the end this time, maybe not have it at the end because people were cutting out, and I understand that they wanted to get home and that sort of thing. But to me, the roundtables are very important for us to get knowledge and exchange ideas and for networking. So maybe not having that at the end, have it at a different time. You know, I guess that's just my own personal opinion, because I know a lot of people were starting to cut out, and I understand because where we were located, they wanted to get home. But, you know, maybe have the roundtable as like right after lunch or the middle session or something, rather than at the end, if we're going to have roundtable ones. Because I think people, I hate to say this, don't take that as seriously as if there's somebody presenting. And so I think that if we can move that to a different time period, or maybe we do that one right before lunch or that sort of thing, just to give it a little more. I mean, we had a good group, but there was maybe 10 of us in our
Yeah,
group?
I was
don't know
surprised
how
how
many
many
in
there
the other
were.
one.
Yeah, I
You
don't
know,
know how
so-
many were in the other one, but
So that's just a suggestion on my part, is not make that roundtable, because I don't think, because people were, like I said, there were people cutting out. And so
some of the reason that had to happen that way was because when you're choreographing these sessions, you don't want to have like concurrent sessions. You don't want to have two kind of collection-based ones opposite each other. So you're trying to mix up them. And then some of the presenters couldn't get there until a certain time, or they had to go early. So you were trying to coordinate all of that too. And so, yes, those roundtables just got left at the end then. And so I do agree with that. So that's why I'm wondering if it's too much, but maybe not. That's why I was wondering, was it four time slots of concurrent session? Was that too much? And you're saying no, but maybe just change some of the order.
It seems like at one point we had roundtables as part of the lunch session. So that encouraged people to mix it up at lunchtime and have the educators get together and the curators get together and the administrators get together. I don't know if that's another thing to keep in mind for the future, whether that works, or, I mean, it means that the time is somewhat constrained, because then we're also doing the business meeting. So I don't know, but rather than having just one or two people chatting with the people who are next to them, if the circle were created regarding a subject, then maybe using that lunch period effectively would
Yes,
help. On
and
the
of
other
course you
hand,
wound up having plenty of time because Erin was so efficient in terms of that business meeting. I thought, oh, well, God, this could go on eating and all that. When I planned this, I actually thought that we were all going to have, it was going to be a food truck, and we were all going to have to go out to the food truck. And so I was thinking, oh, well, that's going to take a long time. But then it wound up being a buffet, which was much more efficient in terms of time. And then Erin was so efficient. So yes, we could have done the roundtables for 45 minutes anyway, during that time slot part of it. So we would have had lunch, we would have had the business meeting that was so well organized, and then still have time for roundtable. By it within functionality, maybe some topic. So good idea. The other issue that we also had, which I assume, Sherry, we won't have in Columbus, but I don't know, is that everyone needed some projection, and one in particular needed internet connection, and that museum is not set up for that. And so I also had the constraint not only of when people could get there to do their presentations, and then keeping subjects not back to back that were related in the same concurrent session. I also had to figure out which room, which ones could be in, because they needed internet or projection capability. So it was a little bit more than than I think would normally take place. I think most museums who would host would probably have the technology infrastructure to accommodate basic stuff anyway.
Well, and I think right now, this is just me off the top of my head, but I think most of the meetings and events will happen at the Vermont. We have one meeting room here. We don't have places where it would be comfortable for people to break up into groups and things. So I see it happening in various rooms at the Vermont. And I'm sure they've got internet and everything top of the line. That's something I will definitely be checking on.
Yeah.
I don't think any of the presenters were looking for highly sophisticated, complicated, whatever that needed big bandwidth or anything like that, but just kind of more basic PowerPoint kind of things. So
Yeah. And
yes, I would think the Ramada would be all set up for that in Columbus.
we haven't always had, the entire conference at the host museum. And when we met in COSAT a number of years ago, we met in their kind of community room downtown. And, people would kind of walk from there and then to like the Henry Museum. I think there was maybe a session there. And then, so there was all within, like a block or two. And then when we were in Plattsmouth, there was a session at the bank. And so, again, there was like, a block or two walk, between the sessions. And so I don't know if that's a possibility in Columbus, either, Sherry, but yeah, if that, there are multiple ways we can do it. It's not that the entire conference has to be at the museum the whole time. We've been able to use, community rooms, or the bank let us use their big meeting space for our conference in Plattsmouth. So yeah, there's options.
And I would also say that I would think a big part of the advantage of hosting is that this is your time to show off your community and your museum and all the offerings that you have with colleagues within your community. So we would hope that we would be able to see a lot of Columbus.
Well, the walking tour would certainly be something to see. I mean, downtown Columbus, the original downtown, the old downtown, plus the present downtown, and the history of the buildings and things like that. That would be a big introduction to Columbus.
But we would certainly want to have something at the museum, at your museum.
Oh, definitely. Definitely we would. We want people to come too.
Anything else that anybody has to add? Like I said, most of my notes are related to the NMA board and what we can do, but is there anything that you guys would like, want to tell the board, that sort of thing? I mean, I chatted with a whole bunch of different people and I got some good suggestions, and hopefully we'll be able to take those suggestions and run with them. But our three non-board members, is there anything that you guys would like to see?
Well, you asked me about subjects to talk about in Columbus, and I made a list, and it's something that we could choose from, and then I'm sure there's more. Well, first of all, I worked for Loop Power District for 10 years, and I got invited in the history of Loop Power. And Nebraska is the only state in the union with 100% public power, where the people control the management of the power district. And Columbus was kind of the starting point to make it 100% public power. And there's the Loop Canal that produces electricity. And there's a powerhouse here that does that converting to electricity. So that's one area of study. Overall, there's been a lot of innovation in Columbus. There are a lot of industry, a lot of ag innovation. You know, the Balin buildings, the center pivots, that type of thing. And then industry in general. Columbus has more industry per capita than any other town in the state. Columbus started as a supply station for like Oregon Trail and people traveling west. There was a lot of connections with the Pawnee Scouts here, based out of Columbus. Buffalo Bill had his first rehearsal for his Wild West show here in Columbus. The Villasur expedition, the massacre that occurred, that is believed to have occurred close to here in Columbus. Then we've had a long history with the railroad, naturally, because it kind of ties in with supplying to the travelers. And then the building tour is fascinating. Schwazer's was a department store that had stores across the state. And you know, they no longer in business, but the building that was the Schwazer store here in Columbus was beautifully built. And when Schwazer's vacated, someone bought it and they renovated it. It's absolutely beautiful. And so you know, what we will do to come up with a you know, a tour or the different activities for the conference is we'll make a list like this and you know, pick the highlights that we want to show and stuff like this. And so that's just what I came up while we're here. I'm sure there's more.
Perfect. I'm already ready to pack and go.
Yeah, when they built the canal in the 1930s, you know, it was in the depths of the Depression, and it gave 1,000 people a job that they were very much appreciative of. And then the land where the canal went, the farmers got paid for that land, and in some cases that helped them pay off their mortgage and stuff, and so it saved the farm. So there's a lot of rich history with that canal. And for example, when we have a program about the canal, it's usually one of the most heavily attended programs because so many people are tied to that, whether it be their grandparents or someone like that, that the canal project, you know, saved the farm or whatever and stuff. So there's just, yeah, a lot of history there. So.
Yeah, and I think some of those highlights about Columbus are things that we could also use in our promotional materials for the meeting. So not only if you come to NMA will you have a chance to learn all of this valuable information related to your museum operation, but you also get to experience a whole bunch of stuff that you probably had no idea about in Columbus, and you know, to spark that curiosity for people and say, you know, did you know that, you know, or you know, somehow incorporate teasers, maybe not even offer the information, but just pose them as questions.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Well, and we can relate kind of how we did with Nebraska City, and we used the whole tree acronym. And if we can come up with something related to Columbus, maybe we can use that as our you know, topic. If Columbus has had slogans or sayings or something, maybe we can play off of that, or some of the things like you mentioned.
City of Power and Progress.
Okay, yeah. So,
Right, yeah, something like, yeah, how museums power your community or, something like
Yeah.
that.
Mhm. Mhm.
or innovation or something like that.
Yeah.
That sort of. Audrey's taking notes.
Yeah. Yeah, because the center pivot irrigation, the center pivot was created in Platte County.
That certainly changed agriculture
Yeah, right. Very
in
much
the
so.
world.
Well, I think we're getting close to time. Is there anything else? I think we've come up with some good ideas and some good pathways forward that we can start looking at and kind of go from there and see what we can come up with.
Yeah.
Anything else anybody wants to add? Well, if not, I think we're good for this month, and I can't remember what the next session is. I know it's, oh, what date is it? The 27th, I believe, is our next monthly musings. That'd be the third Friday.
Yeah, May 27th. Yep, is the next one.
That's the 4th, not the 3rd, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And does anybody
fourth
remember
one.
what the topic is going to be? I don't have that with me. I didn't write it either.
I know, but our awesome little committee, they were on top of it.
May
Even though,
27th. Yep, I do
know
have it.
that
It's summer
Karen said
program.
all that at the meeting, but if it were written someplace, it might help.
Yes, it's on our website.
Oh, okay.
Under the monthly museums tab. I thought, I'm going to look at this. So it's May 27th, and it's about summer programming. And
It is
Katie
nice.
Carr, the education assistant and volunteer coordinator at Hastings Museum, is hosting it.
And what is the topic?
Summer programming.
Okay. And it is the 27th.
Yep.
Okay. Well, if there's nothing else, everyone have a good weekend, and we'll catch you next time.
Yep.
Thank you very
Bye,
much.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Center pivot irrigation was invented in 1940 by the farmer Frank Zybach, who lived in Strasburg, Colorado.
Yes.
In 1952, he went into business with A.E. Trowbridge, a friend from Columbus, Nebraska.
Yeah.
If your
Mhm.
statement is it was
And
invented
Zybach eventually did live in Columbus.
in Colorado, and these guys made a business partnership that then Doherty bought out. And that's the history.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
After it was, yeah.
Well, did things go well, I think, yes.